Hello, wherever you are in the world listening to this podcast. I send you lots of love. It's very, very hard when you start dealing with your abuse because you have to decide whether you're going to still try to handle that relationship with the abuser, whether you have a choice to handle it or not, maybe you're in a family, or whether you're going to actually either have some time off from them or detach. I suggest that you step back as much as you can. You can keep it kind of normalish, just be busy or whatever you have to do, because you're going to find that a lot of stuff's coming up and it's very hard to sit opposite them when you don't want to start having a thing with them. I actually finally detached from my father. I tried for years to make a resolution, but he wouldn't say that he did it and made out like I was crazy and mad and all these things, which people often do, by the way. They'll try and make you like you're insane or you made it all up or you've always been screwy. So just be aware of that one. And in the end, I just sent my last letter to him and that was it. It's very important that you do what's best for you. People who haven't been abused or haven't had this dynamic do not understand it all, and they're going to say really dumb things to you like, have you gone out with your dad and try to make it up with him? They say really stupid things, and they're not very nice things. That makes you feel bad because a part of you does want to have that good relationship with that person, work on it, move on, forgive, etc. But you can't get it. Just don't listen to them. I call them the do-gooders, and they will say these dumb things to you. Just do what you feel is right. With some abusers, it's a safety thing too. You're better off once it all blows up or it comes out or you decide you're not taking it anymore. You're actually better off being in another space with them. If you need to, you change the locks on your house, and if it gets really bad, restraining order. I feel you have to keep yourself really safe with abusers, like really, really safe, because they are by nature full of hate and anger and rage, and they want to hurt people, and that's their nature. Not that nice charming thing you see at the shop. When you start to be estranged from it, it will feel really weird and you probably won't be very comfortable, and you'll probably miss some of the good parts, because remember, they're not being abusive like all the time. Sometimes they're being like the other part of them and you're getting on quite well. It's just when they don't get their own way or they've had too much to drink, etc., or they're too stressed and it comes out. But really, you've got to decide whether you want to live with that at all. The life is different and it will change your dynamic in your family as well. For example, if it's a grandparent, grandmother, auntie, uncle. And so that's something you might need to really consider. If you're in a marriage or a partnership, then you also need to keep your children safe. And so there's going to be some talking to people about what's really going on in that household so that the children are kept safe, and maybe that abuser won't be able to have them without someone being there. It's very complicated. It's like really complicated. But the most important thing is that you do what's best, that feels good for you. Being away from abusers helps you have time to heal, and that's why you might want to have a sabbatical and have some time out from them, a few months away from them, where you block the phone and just don't deal with them while you deal with yourself, because it's very hard to deal with the effects of your abuse and also the abuser in the same space. And you might just need time to get better and find better coping strategies for you. And also, if you need to get some help, it's easier to do it if you're on your own. I never could really sit with it. I knew it had to be the way it was, but it wasn't like my fantasy family anymore. And I was very disappointed. And I lost the family. I lost my father and my sister in the same time, and I found that quite devastating because they were actually my only family, because we had a really tiny family. I was married with children, but they were my actual first family, and you might find that quite hard, but you'll get used to it after a while. You tend to get used to it after a while, and it is a more serene life. It's more calm because you're not waiting for them to go off their face and start screaming and yelling and doing whatever they like to do. So your life has more a harmony in it. It just takes quite a bit of an adjustment. I think for you, you'll know deep down what will work for you. The other way of doing it is you spend a lot less time with them and you be in public places. That's always safer. People tend not to have a screaming match at you when you're sitting at the coffee shop. And I wouldn't have them at my house too much either. I'd minimise. And if you do have people around, you can actually invite extra people to the party or to the dinner, the lunch, and have your friends drop in the afternoon if your father's going to be there. It'll actually dilute it. Have more people there because they'll behave better. So what you're doing is you're putting them in a situation where they'll need to behave because people are watching them. You're not on your own with them. If you need to hang up and block them from your phone, email, etc., do that. Remember, at the end of the day, it's a kind of a switch of power. What you're saying is you've had all the power before and you used it in a really bad way. Now I have the power, my own personal power, to say no to you. And I'm not going to be around your bad behaviour. And if you're going to behave badly, you're not going to be with me. It's a switch of power. Nothing will ever be said, but they know they've lost control of you. Because remember, before they had control of you, and now because you're sort of standing up very quietly maybe, but still standing up and saying no, you now have control of the situation in a good way to keep yourself safe. I feel it's really sad because, we all want to have good relationships with our family and friends, but when their behaviour is so bad and so destructive, I think you really need to make different choices. And at the end of the day, they can stop being like that if they want to. They just stop being like that. People know how to behave because you'll find with abusers, when you go out, they're not like that to other people. So they know how to do it, they know how to behave with people. It's not like they don't have the skills and they're on some kind of mental illness thing. It's not about that. It's all about the fact that they choose to be abusive and they choose to exert their power in a really negative way on you and probably some other people. I found it liberating, actually, even though it was sad and disappointing. It was liberating because I didn't have to deal with him anymore, and to a degree her. She wasn't so nice either in the end. And so I kind of felt that my life was actually better without them. It was like the before when I had my family and then the after when I didn't. It was kind of like they died, but they were still walking around and I knew they were. And you'll find that you'll have times when you wish you could have it like it was before, but before wasn't healthy for you, really, and they're not going to change, and they were not willing to make the compromise and make it work. I was willing to forgive and put a line in the sand, which I thought was pretty big on my part considering what he did, but he didn't want to take any responsibility for it, and it was just try to blame me, and you'll find that a lot. And if you have that dynamic, you pretty much might as well give up. When they get sick or are going to die, you also need to make a choice. Only go and see them if it's going to be good for you. Don't go out of guilt or because you get forced into it. You don't have to do anything now. You can send them a goodbye wish and light them a candle if you want to at home, but if you don't feel safe about going to visit them when they're sick, you don't have to. It's not like, touched by an angel where at the end they forgive and they're so wonderful. People stay the same till they die. So if they're little rat bags when they're alive, when they're dying, they're like super rat bags. And then when they're closer to death, they're like mega rat bags. So that you're not necessarily going to get the resolution or the peace you want. And they all know how to use a phone or get someone to send you a message. And if they're not doing that, they're quite happy to still be angry with you and push you out and punish you. Because what you need to remember is that abusers like to punish. They like to punish people and they like to hurt people, and they will keep doing that because that's where their power comes from their point of view. They're never coming from love. They're always coming from power and control. And the love they have is very conditional. It won't be unconditional love. It will be conditional. So as long as you do as you're told, you'll be fine. But if you do something they don't like, you're in trouble and they will punish you. And they will punish you like for years for something that was said or done. And they will never forgive. They're not forgiving people. I'm sorry that I'm doing this podcast and you're listening to it and you've got this dynamic, but at the end of the day, we're here to be good people and come from love and surround ourselves with love and people who love us and treat us well. And if these people choose not to treat us well, that's not on us, that's on them, because they can always come back and change. Because this idea that you can't change is rubbish. You can change anything in yourself if you want to change it a lot. You can just do it. People do it all the time. I think you do what you want, And that's why I've done this particular one, because people outside in the real world will not understand the dynamic and the damage these people cause. And you don't need any more damage. You need to heal from the damage. And if staying away from them or cutting them out of your life is the only way that you can get some time to heal, do it. I'm on your side. We need to keep ourselves safe and we need to heal. And also, they've had their turn and now they want to be with us. They can treat us well, or they can go and whatever. I was going to swear then, but I thought maybe I shouldn't. Anyhow, that's my podcast for this week. Have a think about it. Time out, less time, or complete shut out. Whatever works for you. Okay, sending you lots of love, lots of light.